with 3 co-founders, right? So it's Ravina, Sandeep, and me. And we were talking about this idea about AI augmenting conversations. And so let's say, you wanna having a conversation, AI really coming in between and do things for us day to day, right? But very quickly we figured out that this was a very, very steep road to climb. You have to invest a lot of capital, and we needed to think about how to use the same concept of AI, but to really create a profitable business. So when we saw this hackathon by Barclays in Mumbai, it was very clear for us that that's the perfect application, where we can use artificial intelligence to support businesses to improve efficiency in their contact centers. It really struck a chord, and since then on, that was the journey. Yes, we definitely started off with a chatbot, but one thing that we've really found very valuable is speaking to customers. And as we kept speaking to more and more customers, it became very clear that chat is a good service, but it's not the end goal. So we had to then add email as a starting point. So with Generali, we actually launched our email solution. Then it moved on to voice, because as we continue, right, and you still see this in the market, that you really have players doing just one domain. But the future very clearly is going to be one brain, one AI that's going to actually enable you across channels, because the kind of efficiencies that brings, it's just unparalleled. Why would you want to recreate the knowledge, recreate the AI all over again each time? And that's why we took a very clear call almost now 4 years ago that we're really going to be omnichannel, which means it doesn't matter how you want to speak to your customer, where you want to speak to your customer. There's one single brain powered by Enterprise Bot. The world definitely needs people to do things that are more productive. We're pretty much in the 3rd industrial revolution, you can say, where we need to see how can we allow your employees, your contact center workers to become more productive. Not just that, if you actually interview many of these people, because we do this constantly, one of the things we learned was they do a lot of repetitive tasks. And what we want to try and do is, how can we empower these people, A, not to do these repetitive tasks, just take those over with automation, but B, when they're doing complicated tasks, today, they have to look at 16, 18 screens just to execute certain transactions. How can we consolidate that and make their life easier? And that's what we're trying to do with artificial intelligence, which is, yes, automation, but also agent assist, or really talking about the co-pilot for contact centers, which really allows these agents to be so much more productive. Today, our focus is really on 2 main use cases. One is the contact center, the second is knowledge management. On the contact center front, what we really want to do is every person who's associated with that contact center, how can we make their life easier? How can we make it faster, smarter? How can we help them with the right information at the right time? How can we, for example, do automatic analysis of their conversations and give them feedback based on that? That's one side. And the second side is around knowledge management. On knowledge management, you have to use pretty much all the exact same things on the contact center side, but just open it up for more people. If you try to look for information and you're 40, 50,000 employees, I can tell you you're spending anywhere between 2 to 3 hours just contacting the right people, trying to find the right document. We feel this is inefficient. We want to bring that answer to you within seconds, not hours or days. And that's kind of our focus right now. Most of our customers today are medium and large enterprises, right from DHL to the Generalis, Arvato Finance, which is a Bertelsmann company, to, let's say, medium-sized enterprises like retailers like Weltbild. So it really varies. We are very clear we don't play in the SME space where you're really talking about the small companies, because we feel we can't add as much value. We really feel like the enterprise layer, the security, the additional features that are required in that space is really something unique that we can offer to the market. And that's kind of our focus area. I'll give you an example of a logistics provider, right? With them, they basically get email requests for shipments, which could, for example, have hazardous goods. They could basically have a big order of baseball bats, right? Or whatever else. The average time in the industry to respond to such requests is almost 3 days. But if you don't respond in under 4 hours, the likelihood of you winning that contract drastically reduces. What we are able to do is to really inside their existing systems embed AI. And I think that's something that's very unique about us. While what everybody else is trying to do is say, hey, this is my software, use this. What we are saying is enterprises already use softwares. It's a huge problem to actually have change management kick in, really moving them from software A to software B, changing the processes. We believe the smarter play is actually, if you're using something, how about I just embed inside? So from an agent perspective, I increase your productivity without you having to learn anything new. And that's what we were able to do for this logistics provider. You're able to bring down the average response time by over 80%. I think the best example is a call center. So we were working with a call center recently, which utilizes Genesis, which is one of our partners. And one of their biggest challenges is that they have very high turnover in terms of employees, because in the call center world, you can have seasonal employees, you can also have a lot of churn, you have a lot of people also coming out of college. So the question was, how can you deliver quality service while allowing these people to get upskilled faster, right? And the idea was, if we can use artificial intelligence to aggregate all the knowledge that's there, then that becomes really powerful, right? And that's what we were able to do. So we were able to reduce the average handling time by over 60%. Not just that, normally what happens is if a new person comes into the call center, they take approximately 6 months to really get upskilled, to speak like a professional, to really know all the nuances to be able to respond. We were able to do that within 1 day. Within 1 day of them utilizing our software to respond to customers, they were getting all the prompts and the next best actions directly on their screen that made them a professional in 1 day instead of 6 months. But for the first 4 years of our business, we were in a space that was growing, and we were growing with it, but we were not unique. We did not figure out what was really, special about us. And I think with generative AI, we really got that unique value proposition. The old way of doing things, where you script every single line of everything that should happen, it's just not sustainable. And that's why we actually applied for a patent for something called DocBrain, which is able to ingest information from everywhere and actually automatically try and respond, right? No more, single lines, no more writing every different variable, because that's just not sustainable or scalable. Because we were able to do that, what happened is we could create the first product that actually went live, especially I can tell you in the rail market and in the enterprise side, to go live with a GenAI enabled product. Being able to go that quickly allowed us to really understand, okay, what are the pain points? And what came out was our value proposition of embedding inside their solutions is extremely, extremely important. Normally what happens is, if you're looking for a software, the first thing that you want to do is, if you have an existing call center solution, you ask them, hey, can I have AI in this? Or if you basically have knowledge management, you'll ask them, can I have AI in this? Or how can you solve XYZ thing for me? What we saw this as is a huge opportunity, where we said, okay, they don't have the same level of AI and efficiency and really, a product that works in an enterprise space. That's what we can fill. We can partner with them, embed our solution inside, and now instead of having to sell to every enterprise, we sell once for the partnership, and then actually our partners have been selling everything for us. And that's really helped scale up our business. That's completely transformational, both in terms of how the enterprise consumes it, because what that means is they don't need to buy new software. They just need to add on an existing license. They don't have to go through procurement. The entire sales cycle completely contracts down from 9 to 12 months to 3 to 6 months, which is absolutely amazing for them, but also for us. And also it means we don't have to scale up our sales teams as aggressively, because now we really need to focus on customer success, value creation, because the sales are actually being done by our partners. So in terms of differentiation, that's a question that we get asked a lot, right? Because it's a crowded space. We just as a joke, we were talking to a customer and we put up a map. There were 1,000 logos all claiming generative AI, and 1,000 more coming every day. And the question really comes down to what's different, especially when you hear about Microsoft talking about their Copilot. You've got Amazon, Google, every major player talking about their generative AI, and every software vendor also talking about it, right? One of the things that we saw was Copilot is, I think, an amazing technology in the Microsoft universe. But as soon as you go into the contact center universe, which basically means that you need to now start integrating into CRMs, you need to start integrating into telephony, you need to basically be able to do voice to text, there's a lot more technical capabilities required. To be able to do this, you need more than just the LLM layer or just, for example, Copilot, which will aggregate data. But very clearly we saw that it was not a match, right? You could then basically go for a longer conversation of build versus buy, which is, as usual, the most common conversation when new technology comes. And that's why what we're seeing is about 40% of the companies go towards a build approach, which is perfectly fine. 60% of the companies go for a buy approach because they want to move faster. They want to do it at a reasonable cost. They want to see if it actually works. And that's really our target market. So we've been consistently growing since inception. We've, I think, never had a, let's say, negative growth round. But what has happened after GenAI is what we at least would consider exceptional growth, where we really found a product market fit with the partnership channel, with the idea of how can we really, come together as a team and grow faster with our partners, right? And that's really clicked because enterprises really want to consume it from the existing technology providers. What that means is this year we will grow. We have already grown by, I believe, about 60% in terms of committed ARR. We will grow by about 120% in terms of ARR by the end of the year. The hardest part for any company is, can you get into that product market fit? Can you get into the growth cycle? Once you get there, it's really about how can you accelerate, and that's the idea, right? So right now we have partnerships with Genesis, we have a partnership with BSI that are working really well. Now we want to basically take that 10, 20, 50, 100x. So now we're basically doing our embedded AI systems inside Salesforce. Now we're looking at how can we do an embedded AI system inside NICE. And that's really the idea. How can we have 50 or 100 extremely strong enterprise softwares where we are really native to that application or really feel native to that application. And that's where we see, we don't see as much competition, and that's why we see we are quite unique in that sense. We are seeing that every software provider is talking about we're bringing in AI, and they are bringing in AI. But we still feel that the contact center needs end-to-end automation plus generative AI that utilizes existing technology but can also be omnichannel. I mean, we spent the last 6 years building up all the different pieces required for this space. And that's why now it seems like, we've got this very unique value proposition. What most companies, including what we see again, in Salesforce, is that they're coming up with good solutions that can solve your L1 problems or your basic, let's say, requests. But as soon as something gets a bit more complicated, or you need a bit more, let's say, ingestion, or you need to get the perfect way to actually slice the data, or, how do you contextualize it? Or how do you, for example, connect multiple different data sets? How do you reduce hallucination, right? These are things that they've really touched on the surface. And that's why most enterprises, when they benchmark, kind of see that, okay, yes, there is a product. If you want to get started, we can. It's, reasonably priced, no problem. But here is a product that's truly ready for enterprises, that's truly ready for that scale that enterprises need at a multinational level. And I think that's really our USP. The most important concept of growth for us is partners. That's really a strategy. That's the future. We believe our solution is not a solution that should stand alone. Our solution is something that should be consumed from within existing softwares. That's really where the growth is coming from. Where, for example, if you have a Genesis and you want generative AI, again, imagine if you want it in Swiss German, there's one provider that truly offers that to you. If you want, for example, in BSI, a complete end-to-end generative journey for retail or for health insurance, there's one provider that truly offers that to you today. And that's really kind of our USP, and that's what we want to build on, and that's where the growth is going to come from. I think about 70 to 75% of our revenue today comes from Europe. 10% comes from the US, and the balance from Asia. We see Middle East as a very important market for us, but one of the most important markets for our growth for the future we see as the US, because the average ARR is almost 4 times that of Europe. And that's one of the reasons why we've already started signing clients even without being there. So we have already 4 clients in the US, again, 100K ARR plus. And the idea is, how can we now really move into that market? Because if you want to go, 30, 40, 50x, that's a market that you have to conquer. You have a lot of players that basically sell the first layer, which is, hey, if you want to build a bot, connect these things, throw arrows from here to there, and it works. And that's perfect if you want to build something simple. When you need to have something that's truly omnichannel, that truly understands the customer, and that's ready for go live globally, at an enterprise scale, at an enterprise level, the requirements are completely different. And that's where we don't see as much competition, rather we see very few players. And then what we see is, when it comes to embedding inside existing softwares and allowing people to consume it directly, we almost see no competition in that space. And that's why that's, let's say, the path that we've chosen. For our 5-year journey, the most important thing is, are we listening to the customer? Are we able to really understand their needs and make sure that we're delivering value? Because the day we stop delivering value is the day that we will stop existing. And if we continue to do that, I hope, as I said, IPO. If you remember when the whole chatbot journey started, now I'm not talking about 1970s, still about 6 years ago, when you had the Facebook chatbots and all of that. It started with this whole concept where within the first 2 years, the most common question was, how can I speak to a human being? And that's already moved, right? Where today you can truly feel the NPS go up, you can truly feel the personalization go up. The metrics are really clearly there that we've taken a big leap. Accuracy is increasing, personalization is increasing, and very soon you will not be able to tell the difference between what is AI and what is human. And the most important part over there is, we're able to really, again, going back to the value creation part, that we're able to ensure that we're able to create or give that service of resolution to the end customer. But there are going to be cases which cannot be answered by AI. It does not matter how far the AI, let's say, industry moves, because there are certain things that require backend services, that require, let's say, a little more assumptions, require the human touch. So we still believe that, call center agents or people that we work with today are going to be very important. And that's why we think that what's going to happen is, we're going to increase the productivity of the people who actually work with these kind of technologies. We're going to reduce the number of things that go to them, because if you actually see today, on average, companies have over 15% in terms of calls that they cannot even touch. One of the biggest things that's growing as, let's say AI comes, technology comes, are also customer requests. So if you're not able to bring in AI, you have 2 choices. You either basically triple, quadruple your, call center teams, or you bring in AI and allow your contact center teams to remain lean and increase productivity. And that's, I think, where it's headed. I think one of the cool things that's happened with GenAI and ChatGPT is, every company is talking about what is their future of contact centers and of their own employees increasing productivity, right? So what we're seeing is, every company is now looking at, okay, how can we move forward? How can we bring in AI? And the first obvious option for them is, how do we see our existing software? So let's say if we use Salesforce or if we use Genesis, how can I basically bring in AI already in over there? And what they try to do is first check, for example, there's Einstein GPT, right? Or, Genesis has just launched few AI features. So the first thing they want to see is, does this meet my requirements? What percentage of my requirements are really met by this? And one of the first things that they see is, yes, it does meet a basic requirement that can I add AI into the conversation or into my journey? But what it misses out is all these are walled gardens. What I mean by that is Microsoft does a great job with Microsoft products. Salesforce, amazing job with Salesforce data and Salesforce products. Genesis, same exact thing, and I can go on and on, right? And what we basically believe is every enterprise needs to add AI capabilities like they're thinking about. It should be in their existing software like they're thinking about. The question is, do you want it to really be in the walled garden or with a player like Enterprise Bot, where it's still embedded? It's inside exactly that software. You can consume it via the same procurement process, but you open up the garden, you can connect to any particular enterprise software. We have connectors to SAP, to SharePoint, Confluence. It does not matter, right? Almost every major enterprise software, we connect into it. We have processes specifically built for specific industries as well. That gives us another edge. Because if you're in travel, for example, we understand that refund processes, etc., are very important and what softwares are important. And that's really what allows customers to say, okay, if you want to get started quickly without, let's say, too much pain, but without really getting to the end goal, absolutely, we can choose one of these products. But if we really are talking about what we really need to get to, the productivity gain, the real automation, the next level, then many customers right now are choosing Enterprise Bot for this exact thing, right? Because they know that yes, they want it here. The idea is how do they get it and open it up. Actually, everyone is trying to build it on their own, right? The question is, how far are they getting, right? It's very, very easy actually to build something where you drag a PDF, you ask a question and it answers and you feel like, wow, we've reached generative AI capability. It's like in coding, I don't know if you've learned coding, but the first thing you do is get the computer to compile a software and say hello world, right? It's the same concept. Everyone does that. Everyone feels it's working. The distance between that and a complete production software is about 6 years of work, right? Which we've put in. And the idea is not that every company will basically build, because see, the largest companies like Salesforce, like Genesis, will definitely continue their journey of building as well, right? We're faster because we're more nimble, we can push products faster, and that's why we normally have about a year and a half in terms of product lead, and that's why they collaborate with us. Now, if we talk about the medium-sized enterprises, right, they don't even have the capital to spend, because again, we're talking about 50 FTEs working on this for 4 to 5 years, right? So you can just look at that cost. How many companies can really put in that cost? And even if, let's say, miraculously, you can basically push everything to really make a enterprise-ready software in 1 year, you're still too late, because all you've done is played catch up. So what we are saying, and the reason why these enterprises are collaborating with us, is we basically are giving them AI capabilities in their existing software without them having to actually put in any capital, take any risk while winning more clients. There are two major levers that we see, right? The first one is how can we increase the number of softwares where we are truly embedded, right? Where we truly feel native. So we've already got Genesis and BSI that are performing extremely well for us. The idea is to add about 50 more in the next 12 to 18 months, right? So now today, our pipe, basically per software that we add, we get a pipe of between 2 and 5 million. If we can add 50, that starts looking like a very interesting pipeline. And that's definitely a very clear focus in terms of growth. But what we're also seeing is just through our partnerships, for example, we're seeing new ARR coming from North America. We're seeing new ARR coming from the Middle East, which is also now pushing us to say, hey, 70% of our revenue used to come from Europe. The future, it will change. North America is a huge market. The sales cycles are shorter. The average ARR is larger, but it's fiercely competitive. That's one of the reasons why we're really focused on, okay, that's the next market that we have to conquer. We have the right product market fit. We have the right partnerships. Now we need to put the right team in place. We're selling everything today with 2.5 FTEs based out of Europe. right? So the entire ARR growth for us has come from there. We need to now build on this, and that's one of the reasons now we're very focused on capital raise to expand into the US and really take that next step, and hopefully, as we said, reach the IPO stage.